Thank you for inviting me to conduct this workshop. I'm delighted to be here, and I hope that the information that I share today and the exercises that I work with today will be helpful to all participants. So please feel free to add your comments or questions in the chat box, which will be passed on to me. And we are going to start. So my computer. Okay. I would like to go over the goals for this workshop very briefly. This is basically a writing workshop. We are going to reinforce the knowledge about paragraph structure and provide an opportunity to practice incorporating one or two sources into a paragraph. That will be done today. The following workshop will basically use the same procedures and same practice, but we will work with more than two sources. However, the principle is the same. And we will practice effective summarization and explication of logical relations between pieces of information. I would like to start by talking about my background very briefly. So I work at Saginaw Valley State University. As Natalia has said, it is in Michigan, United States. It is in the north. Some people ask what the weather is like. It's about the same as the weather here. We are on the border with Canada and surrounded by the Great Lakes. And so Saginaw Valley State University is one of the smaller regional universities. And this is our logo. And these are some of the sites of the university with our students. I have worked there for probably 10, 12 years by now. I started working in the English language program as an English as a second language instructor. Taught reading, writing, listening, speaking, grammar, and I worked with mostly with international students that came to our university, wanted to get an education there, but couldn't start with regular classes because their language level was not sufficient for survival in a class, in a classroom. After that, I was hired by the English department of the university, where I also was largely assigned composition courses for international students. So those courses were equivalents of regular composition courses that are part of the general education requirements for everyone who studies at our university. However, I believe that I understood the needs of the student population that I worked with better than native speakers of English, because I had gone through kind of the same process myself over the years. So that's what I did. And one of the issues that we had to work with when we would conduct instruction in academic writing was incorporating outside sources into students' own writing. And that's how all of this sandwich story started. So I'm using my teaching materials, basically. I just updated the sources that I am sharing with you, and we will practice several steps of incorporating those sources into your own writing, which is a required part of pretty much any academic article that you may submit to a journal for publication, or possibly a chapter in a book if you're participating in a collected volume. So this is something that is required of an academic writer. However, I really haven't found very good teaching materials that addressed this particular skill. That is why I am teaching people what I think I know how to do. And I hope that this seminar is useful to you. Okay, that's my brief introduction. And I would like to learn a little bit, very briefly, about participants of this seminar. Because of that, we have prepared a very brief poll that we would like you to participate in, and there are just a few questions. And I think the moderators are going to help me with that, right? So it looks like most people are in humanities and social sciences, and most people have published, and high order concerns are much more of interest to our participants, which is great. And most people are working on a paper. Okay, great. All right, if you don't have something to work on during the second seminar, please find something, because the goal is to practice on some other sources that may or may not be relevant to you. Well, they're most likely are not relevant to you, because I was choosing something just to practice on. But for the second seminar, if possible, I would like to encourage you to identify a few sources that you would like to include in a literature review for your future publication, or the publication that you're working on right now, so that you can use something that is actually useful to you right now. Okay, all right. So what we're going to do, trying to go through up to the next slide. The goal of this seminar is practicing writing with sources, right? When we want to publish something, we need to show that we're current in the field, we know what's going on, we're not reinventing the bicycle, so we are aware of studies that have been done on the same or similar topic that we're trying to publish on, right? Academic writing, or writing with sources, is not something that people do casually in informal situations, right? In the United States, it's practiced in high school and college writing classes. In the situation that's relevant for us, it's writing for publication. So for publication in scholarly journals, monographs, edited collections, in textbooks, we need to incorporate other people's ideas, sometimes direct quotes, mostly it's paraphrases or summaries, and it's something that we need to be able to do, and we need to be able to do effectively. Sometimes outside sources are mentioned or discussed in journalistic pieces, and then an ethical journalist would cite that piece of information. And very rarely it's possible to see that in personal communication, usually between people who are in academia, people who do that as a profession, do it most of the time. So again, it can be other people's text, direct quotes, paraphrases, or summary, but it can also be ideas. If we are mentioning some kind of idea that we encountered in somebody else's article or book, we can and should cite it. I'm sure that everyone here is already knowledgeable about that. Well, here comes the challenge. How do we do that? How are we supposed to do that? It has to be relevant, logical, and as natural sounding as possible. All right, this is the hard part. We all know that that's how it's supposed to be. Now, how do we practically achieve that? This is again something to just review, that academic writing follows the same writing process as any other type of writing. The behaviors of good writers can be listed as invention, planning, drafting, pausing, reading, revising, and editing. However, it's not just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Very often it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 7, 5, 6, 7, or in any other combination, because writing process is recursive, right? So what we're going to do today is a tiny little piece in this mosaic, right? Hopefully, in the end, you have this wonderful article ready for publication, ready to be sent to a quality journal. And in the meantime, we need to achieve the all of the, we need to cover all of the elements that will contribute to the final product. Okay, so we're going to start very, very at a very, very low and simple level. I call it sandwich. It really is not very professional, but students kind of liked the pictures of sandwiches, and it helped them remember what I'm talking about. So later, when I maybe comment on a piece of writing on a paper that they submit, I would only have to say, you know, you need to sandwich this, and they remember, and it makes sense for them. It helps them understand what I mean, instead of me giving this long explanation of the need to incorporate the quote or paraphrase better than they did before. So this workshop is going to go through these steps. We will talk about the sandwich, we will talk about the double sandwich, and then the next workshop that follows this one is going to prepare a smoothie, right? We will blend things. All right, so if we use the metaphor of sandwich and we apply it to incorporating an outside source into our own paragraph, into our own writing, we can say that the quote, paraphrase, or summary is all of the good stuff. All of the good stuff that goes in the middle, maybe bacon, maybe some ham, or whatever is the meat part that is used in a sandwich. It's the cheese that goes there, it's lettuce, some kind of sauce that's used. Okay, so the important stuff is in the middle. However, in the United States tradition, for example, for at least, a sandwich has two pieces of bread, one at the bottom, one at the top. And so we can think about incorporating our summary or paraphrase with starting with something and then finishing with something else. Okay, all right. And let's just jump in and start the practical part of the seminar by creating a mini sandwich, right? So what you're going to do now, you will go to your handout. So you will get to your handout and you will find task 1 in the handout. In that task 1, there are two points there. You will read 2 paragraphs from an economic report by the International Monetary Fund that has been published. I found it on Google Scholar. I thought, well, I mean, what is the biggest topic of discussion today? Unfortunately, it's Corona. So it is a report on economic effect of coronavirus infection on the United States economy. So you will read those 2 paragraphs that I plucked out of the full article. You will summarize them or paraphrase them. Summarize, because we really don't need something that's 2 paragraphs long. It's possible that you can do it in just 1 or 2 sentences. And then we will start with an attributive tag and finish it with an in-text citation. Okay, all right. So an attributive tag, if you look on your, if you look into your handout, you look at the handout, after this task 1, there are examples of reporting verbs that can be used to introduce a quote or a paraphrase or a summary. So one of the very common ones is according to. However, I would like to challenge everyone to use something different, right? So we can say as such and such a person proves, demonstrates, explains, describes, shows, lists, and so on, okay? This is one of the ways for a researcher to show their own attitude to the paraphrase or summary. Sometimes people ask, is it okay for academic writing to contain your opinion? Absolutely. And so reporting verbs are one of the ways to show your attitude and to share your opinion of the paraphrase or summary, right? Because there's a big difference between saying Chan et al. Speculate that, and then continue with the paraphrase or summary, or Chan et al. Prove that, and then continue with paraphrase and summary. Is that right? Right, there's a big difference. So reporting verbs is one of the ways to show your attitude to the content of the source that you are incorporating. So again, you will read those paragraphs from the handout, and you will just put the attributive tag in the beginning and citation in the end. Citation is just last name of the authors, year, and page. Page, I think, is there. It's page number 7. Okay. This is one example of what this mini sandwich can look like. As clearly demonstrated by Chan et al., right? This is the attributive tag. I tell everyone that I did not come up with this information. I did not collect statistics on this particular issue. I'm using somebody else's information, okay? I'm giving credit to the authors of this IMF report. So attributive tag is only this tiny little phrase before the paraphrase, summary, or direct quote. So as clearly demonstrated by Chan et al. Could participants please unmute themselves and give me other options for the attributive tag that they used?
I started directly with the Chan et al. Indicate a decrease and so on.
Okay, indicated. All right. Any other reporting verbs that could be used for this?
For example, as explained by Chan et al. And
perfect. So very good. Any others?
As shown by Chan et al.
As shown by, very good. Anything else?
Based on.
Based on, very good. All right, nice. So all of those options are possible. And as I said, reporting verbs is one of the ways for you to show your attitude. Okay, if you think that the information that you are going to share now, or you're going to incorporate into your literature review is questionable, you can do that. You can say as speculated by somebody or as claimed by. So the level of trust that you are showing is much lower than if you said as proven by or as demonstrated by. So I used very high level of trust when I chose the attributive tag as clearly demonstrated, right? So I'm showing that I do believe that information that I'm going to include then. Okay, so the summary, I chose to use a very short summary. I just say that COVID-19 epidemic had a very negative effect on the US economy. I believe that it kind of covers those two paragraphs because they show that we estimated it by using this information. We estimated by using that information. To me, for example, for the particular article that maybe I'm working on, it's only important to say that this report shows that the economy went down. That's it. Okay. If you want to choose to incorporate more information, you absolutely can. Okay. All right. So what is 2020 page 7 in the end? This is the in-text citation. I call citation to make it sound different from the references that are after the article, right? I will have full references at the end of my article, but in the text, in the paragraphs that I'm writing, I need to mark where I got it from. In this case, I don't have Chan at all between my parentheses here. I only have the year and page number. Can anyone tell me why I didn't put the last name in here?
Because you have it in the beginning.
Perfect. Oh, okay. So you guys all know everything, right? Okay. Let's move on then. If everyone
Can I
is
ask
okay
a question
with this?
about that?
Uh-huh.
Yes, is a question allowed?
Absolutely. Encouraged. Allowed and encouraged.
Uh-huh. Well, I wonder why this in-text citation, the year and the page is not following the surname, because I supposed to do something like Chen et al. And 2020 page 7,
Mhm.
and then so on. Not in the
Good question.
end of the.
I believe I can just copy right here in front of you and move it. So this is possible to do it like this, right? Yes. Okay, so I'm going to change this. Very good question. Thank you very much. So it's possible to do it right here. No, I think that's not really good. We'll make
in
it
here.
this way, right?
Mhm.
This is good because it marks the beginning of the summary. I show that I did not collect those statistics. Somebody else did. I give them credit for it, right? The problem with this, the only problem with this is that it's not quite clear where the summary ends and my own text will start.
Mm.
See, the name, the attributive tag, and the citation
Mhm.
serves like a border,
Mhm.
because it's important for me to show this is mine, this is not mine.
Mhm.
Okay, so in this case, I would encourage people to do it this way, because this way it's clearer where the summary ends and something else would start after it. Because we're not going to end here, we will continue, right? Our paragraphs are going to be much bigger than just this.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, so what you're saying is correct. It is
Mhm.
correct. It is
Mhm.
possible to put the year and page right after the name of the leading author in this article
Mhm.
and the colleagues. So it was a great suggestion, and it's possible. It's possible.
Mhm.
Yeah, you could do it before,
Mhm.
but I would recommend putting it after. This way, you you have the short, clear border between things.
Mhm. And if we do this in the middle of the sentence, should we start the next sentence with some, I say, with some indication of the author? I think something like in the next sentence, in the beginning of the next sentence, maybe we should put something in there to
Yeah, that's a
to
good
indicate
strategy.
that,
Yeah, that's a good strategy.
that's,
You could do it this way. You could say, as clearly demonstrated by Chen et al., COVID-19 epidemic had a negative impact on the economy.
But our
As
researchers,
researchers, as researchers or we can assume from this information that, right?
Mhm,
So
uh-huh.
you continue clearly showing that you're done with the summary and you're continuing your opinion, your text, you're discussing this topic on
Oh,
your
I see.
own now. Mhm.
Thanks.
Excellent. More questions?
Can you tell an example of attributive tag when you disagree with the author?
Yes. So one of the ways to show that you're not convinced, you can say as speculated by, right? You can say as claimed by. Now you're showing that you are questioning this information, you're questioning this data, you're questioning their conclusions, you're not convinced. So the doubtful conclusions by such and such a research group, right? You can use that. So there is a misconception that when you write an academic text, you cannot have an opinion. You absolutely can have an opinion. You should have an opinion. It's just the way we express our opinion is slightly different. There's another really good formula. I think everybody can see it, right? It is, let's say, adjective, that. Okay. This is another way to express an opinion in academic writing that is accepted as formal. So how can you do that? It is doubtful that something. It is clear that something. You can tell the difference, right? Okay. Or another one is it is adjective to verb. It is reasonable to assume that is quite different from it is ridiculous to claim that. Can you tell the difference?
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
And you can introduce your summaries, quotes, and paraphrases by something like that. And then you add in-text citation at the end, and you are showing your attitude. And also you're showing that this information is not yours, it's somebody else's. Okay. All right. If everyone is okay now, are there any more questions? Is there something in the chat?
There is some, if I can ask again, if we have several sentences that refer on one paper. So if we will continue to summarize one source, should we put an in-text citation in the end of the whole summary or not?
Very good. Thank you. I don't think there is a very strict rule about it. I believe I can give you not a rule to follow, but a recommendation to follow. My recommendation is to read through your paragraph and see, is it clear what is yours and what is not yours? If it's not clear, it would help to add citations. If the whole paragraph sounds like a retelling of something from another article, then you can just put the parentheses at the end of that paragraph and be done with that. If you have a quote that is very long, I don't remember how many words, different formatting systems have different rules about that. But if you have a very, very long quote, it can be presented visually differently. Right? There is an extra tab, so it's shifted in the page, and then there is citation at the end. So there are rules about long quotes. There are rules about long. I'm not sure there are rules about long paraphrases or summaries. As a general recommendation, very long paraphrases and very long summaries are not recommended, because you're supposed to be writing something that's yours, not just a report on what has been done by others, right? So it's your discussion. That is why we struggle with incorporating outside sources so much, because people say, well, it's your article, right? But I'm supposed to show that I have read this, and that. But as a general recommendation, we don't recommend very long summaries or paraphrases. Okay, so it's your discussion with sources rather than a collection of sources. Okay. More questions?
Hello, I have got a question. Yeah, may I ask you?
Sure.
Right. I don't actually understand one thing about the reporting verb. So, as you say, by using the reporting verbs, we are showing our attitude to what we, to the information presented by the author. Right. So Chan and his colleagues seem quite sure about their results. But if, for example, I doubt and I use speculate, so in this case, it would look like Chan et al. Speculate that COVID-19 epidemic and so on. So to my mind, it looks like they speculate, that they are not sure about the results, not me.
You can use suggest. You can use claim. You don't have to say speculate.
But if I doubt, if I
Mhm.
have a doubt, why can't I use speculate? But just my question is, to my mind, in such a context where I can use doubt, for example, but in this context, it would look like Chan et al. Doubt, not me.
Well, there are other ways to express that, as one of them is, it is while people can, while we can question their findings, Chan et al. Claim that. Would that work better?
But in this case, well, in this case, of course, we can add some phrase showing our, well, that we are questioning those results, right? But in this case, probably we should say that reporting verbs do not actually show our attitude, because once again, if we add any of the verbs like question or doubt or speculate after Chan et al., that would probably mean that these scholars are not very sure about the results they have got.
It is possible. So yeah, I agree with you that speculate could be interpreted that way. However, if you add something like clearly demonstrated by, I think I just showed that I trust their numbers, didn't I?
You did. I'm just using your sentence as an illustration to my question.
Yeah, very good. My point is that you can and you should express your attitude to the information that you're incorporated. There are several different ways. One of them is using different verbs. Does that answer your question?
Well, probably no.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right. Well, you should then choose a different way. You should choose a different way, or you can always go back to as or according to is one of the most common introductions for paraphrases, summaries, or quotes. You can always use according to. All right.
All
Okay,
right.
so I suggest that we move to the next point, unless there are more comments or questions. Okay, so I think now there should be a little less confusion, right? We're going to add something to our sources, and this way we are going to move to the next task in the handout. You're going to use the handout again. However, the task is a little more elaborate this time. So please go back to the handout and read a section from the article. The article's title is Black Lives Matter and Yes, You're Racist, the Parallelism of the 20th and 21st Centuries. So the article is by McCoy, published in 2020 again. I believe I included the page number there. And the handout now asks a little more from you. The handout includes a request for a topic sentence for this for this next activity. So your handout is going to start with a topic sentence for the paragraph where you can use the source. Then you will have the attribution, and it's going to be short, very short, possibly a phrase such as according to, and then the name of the author of the article. In this case, it's going to be according to McCoy. And then you will have the summary of that information. You will finish the summary with parentheses with either the name of the author, year and page, or just year and page, depending on how close the name of the author is. And then I would like you to think of a concluding sentence to this paragraph. So instead of only the paraphrase or summary that is introduced by an attributive tag and finished with a citation, we will write our own sentence in the beginning, and we will write our own sentence in the end. And you're not limited to one sentence only. If you have something else to say, please feel free to add your text to this summary. All right, so how does that sound? Is that clear? Is this assignment clear? Okay, if it is clear, we're going to do the same thing. We'll go into breakout rooms now. And
Excuse me, dear Natalia, could you please give us an example?
okay,
Because
well,
we have
yeah,
different
let's skip.
background,
Yeah,
and
let's skip.
because,
Perfect,
for
thank you.
example, some of our colleagues just have a silence, and I think they need to show.
Very good. Thank you so much. Let's skip to the example that I came up with. It's only one possible way to do that. So I guess you can see my my screen, right? So here is my topic sentence. COVID-19 pandemic hurt the Black population of the US. Okay. McCoy, for example, explains that few of them were able to continue working remotely and many lost their jobs. Those who remained employed often worked in the service industry, which increased their risk of contracting the virus while lacking health insurance. What do I have after my summary? Parentheses, 2020, 467. Okay. All right, let me highlight. I'm not sure okay, so this is my topic sentence. Okay, COVID-19 pandemic hurt the Black population of the US. This is my attribution. McCoy explains. Okay, so I'm marking where my text ends, somebody else's summary starts. This is my summary, okay? And then this is my in-text citation, 2020, page 467, because I used the name just before the sentence, okay? And this is my concluding sentence. They found themselves in a predicament, either unemployment and poverty, or work that was killing them.
Thank you
Okay.
very much. Thank
All
you.
right, you're welcome. Now, you do not have to do it the same way, okay? Because obviously, not only everybody's perception of the text is different, we can have different opinions, but also we can pay attention to different aspects in the text. Maybe, for example, you are going to be more interested in some of the detail that I overlooked. So now your turn, and I would like everybody to spend some time reading the suggested text, and then filling in topic sentence, attribution, summary, in-text citation, and concluding sentence. Okay, all right. So do you think 10 minutes will be enough for you? Okay, all right. Once you're done, or would you prefer to work in breakout rooms together and help each other? Let's start individually then. Spend 5 minutes here and then another 5, maybe 10 minutes in the breakout rooms. Okay, all right, so 5 minutes. Try to fill out the task 2 in the handout. Let's see if we have any discussion now after this task. So again, it's possible to do it this way. However, it's only one version, and I'd be curious to hear the way you interpreted that article or those 2-3 paragraphs. If you could please unmute yourself and just say a few words about your work in the breakout room. Just maybe share some of the strategies that you used or some of the struggles that you had. Okay, chat. Yes, that's going to be a problem here because people don't just write their opinion. They often cite other authors. Anything else? Okay, I'd be curious to.
My example.
Uh-huh.
I can try reading my example, but the problem is that with a concluding sentence, because actually when you conclude referring to the article you are writing and following some idea of your own paper. In this case, well, it was a task for me because I don't have any specific like idea or reflection about this article. So that's why it's hard to conclude, because it depends on the like content where why we refer to this article and what do we want. Do we want to make some parallel with the immigrants in Russia, for example, or something else? So therefore
Thank you. This is a great comment. It is difficult to write about something that is just given to you in a workshop and you didn't research before or you're not working with now. So it's of course a challenge. So one of the things that people do in concluding sentence is either sometimes summary of the, not summary, but kind of a resume of the information that's presented in this paragraph, or sometimes people announce the further direction of the article. Sometimes the concluding sentence can sound like, these ideas will be further developed in the next section of my article. So that is also a common strategy for concluding sentences. Okay, all right. If you don't mind, could you please put in the chat or unmute yourself and read your introductory sentence, your topic sentence.
My topic sentence, the COVID-19 recession affected Blacks the most.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Can we say Blacks?
Well, that's what the authors of the article do, so I'm assuming that we can, yeah. Okay, so thank you for sharing.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
Excuse me. Is those phrase like Blacks is correct for science article?
Yeah, thank you. This is a sensitive topic. This is a sensitive topic. If you listen to President John F. Kennedy, when he announced in 1967 or 68, the new legislation that prohibited discrimination, he referred to the Black population of the United States as the Negro. So at that time, that word seemed acceptable. Later, it was seen as not acceptable. This section of the population has been called by different labels. Some of them, such as colored, is considered offensive today. So social perceptions of different terminology changes with time, and there's little we can do about it.
Right now, it's correct, Blacks.
Yes, and
Okay, thank you.
capitalized.
Excuse me.
Capitalized. Yeah, the best I can do is I can use my student. I can ask my students who identify with this race and ask what they feel. However, for you, that's not possible. Probably you don't have access to students who are members of
Thank you
this
very much.
particular race. So what do we do? I think it's you know, it's a sensitive topic, and we being nice people, we don't want to offend anybody, so we try to be as sensitive and careful as possible, and then we just do what we can, right? So African American is an acceptable term. Black with capital B seems to be an acceptable term today in today's conversations. That's my best understanding of that. If you're working with an article that has been published in a scholarly journal and it uses Black population or Blacks in the plural, I would assume that it's okay to do so. So I guess my only advice is to follow the others in this. Okay. Okay, good. Let me read some of the examples that have been kindly shared by people. Topic sentence. Blacks are more seriously hit by the COVID pandemic compared to white counterparts. Very good. Okay. Okay. Any other topic sentences? How about concluding sentences? Do you have any concluding sentences that you used that you could either paste in the chat window or say? All right, so thank you again for the concluding sentence that's in the chat. So the effect comes through various channels. Very good. Because that's what was listed in the information in the article. Okay, any other conclusions? Okay, so I guess we can move on, but I want to repeat. The point is to build a paragraph around the quote, paraphrase, or summary. So it's not only there in your article by itself, right? The quote, paraphrase, or summary is not there because it is there. The quote, paraphrase, or summary is there to support your point, okay, in the lit review. And that is why it's important, it's necessary to introduce it with a topic sentence and finish with a concluding sentence. Okay, all right, I'm gonna move on. So for this task, you will read a piece from an article and you will introduce it with a little more text of your own, and you will finish it with a little more of the text of your own. So your paragraph is going to be more filled, right? Filled with more of your own text than with the paraphrase, quote, or summary. Okay, so in the handout, please find task 3. You will see that it wants you to start with a topic sentence, right? That introduces the general topic of this paragraph. Then, if you can, if you're able, please add an explanatory sentence, possibly 2, 3, or 4 of them in your own writing. Here, as it was correctly mentioned, we're talking about something that we either don't know about or we don't care about, or both. So it's all right that we don't have very many ideas. Ideally, though, your paragraph should start with a topic sentence, should continue with a discussion, only then move to attribution, summary, and in-text citation. And then it would finish with more discussion and concluding sentence. All right, so is the task clear? Did you find the section in the handout that says task 3?
Could you please give an example again, because it's very clear when we have got the example.
Okay, all right, thank you. Let's move to the final product the way that I thought was possible to do that. There are many other ways to do it, but this is my example. So once again, I want to emphasize that this is only one possible way to interpret that article. So I would start with the introductory sentence. Some sectors of the US population suffered from the coronavirus pandemic more than others. Okay. I just introduced what my paragraph is going to talk about. So its effect on the minority groups appears disproportionate. That's my discussion sentence. Now I go to my attribution, as Johnson, Bakwu et al. Demonstrate. I go to my summary. Mortality rates for Black Americans are more than twice as high as those for white non-Hispanic population. And the hospitalization for Latinos are over 5 times higher than for whites. Here's my citation, 2001, page 1. 2020, page 1. Here's my discussion. The statistics are alarming since they indicate racial disparities in access to healthcare. Despite a long history where the fight for equality, US minorities remain disadvantaged in several areas, healthcare being one of them. And then I conclude with the introduction of the further content of the paper. As I will demonstrate in the next section of the paper, American health insurance policies and practices may be at fault here. All right, does it help?
Yes, super, thank you.
All right, okay, and please don't feel like you have to repeat the same thing, because everybody's interpretation of the same information may be slightly different. Hey, good luck.
There's a question in chat.
Go ahead.
No, I'm saying that there is a question in chat. If you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you for. Well, what's the difference between inequity, and equality? That depends on your political affiliation, and it's a really big. It's a really long discussion. So, the word equity has entered the political discourse of the United States not so long ago. My impression is that it has been in use only in the past 3, 4, maybe 5 years. Maybe I wasn't aware of it before, but like I said, I didn't hear it just a few years before. So some people who argue, why US and not USA? I don't know. People call their country US. I'm repeating after people of the country. So the difference between equity and equality is explained this way. Different people have different barriers to success in life. If you give everybody exactly the same treatment, which the word equality implies, it may not actually be the right thing to do. So if you give the same treatment to people who can see and people who are blind, that is equality because we're treating them the same way, but it doesn't help those who have a barrier, right, which is blindness. So supposedly people should strive not for equality, but people should look for equity, so that if there is an additional barrier, then these people get additional help. Does it help? All right. Okay. Okay, so let's try to work with this source from racism, COVID-19, and health inequity in the USA, and follow the guidelines of the handout. We had a really nice discussion in one of the breakout rooms, whether or not we should mention that my opinion is something or another, or because of this, or therefore, or thus, I believe that we need more government programs that address this problem. What I recommend is to use connectors such as therefore, thus, because of that, and similar. But I do not recommend using my opinion is or in my opinion. Not because there's anything wrong with those phrases. They're perfectly great, perfectly fine. But everything that you write in your article is expected to be your opinion. This is the reason why I kept emphasizing we need to show the borders between your text and somebody else's text or somebody else's ideas in the summary or paraphrase. If you don't have the attributive tag before it and citation after it, it is expected to be your opinion. Your opinions are valid, important, and expected. They're necessary in your article. So saying, in my opinion, something or another is not wrong, but it's unnecessary. Everything you write, everything you say there is your opinion. Okay, so in that way, that phrase is not wrong, but it's not necessary. All right, okay. What kind of discussing sentences did you have? Can somebody please share them either in a chat or unmute yourselves and just say them? I see chat.
He put a sentence that was a discussion that education is one of the reasons leading to health disparities.
Perfect. Very nice. Good. Okay. Any more discussion? Something that you can add to that summary that would be actually yours. That's your opinion.
Do you mean discussion after the summary or before, like a
Either
discussion
one,
over
either
topic?
one. Yes. Yeah. See, the challenge here is that you're working with articles that were just given to you. You don't have time to process them. So I really appreciate everybody's input because you're doing it on the spot. So anything that you were able to think of that was your opinion that is related to the information from the article.
Well, I don't quite understand. Maybe it's just me. I don't quite understand what does it mean the discussion over topic sentence. What should we discuss if it's just the topic? The topic.
Yeah, well, let's say that is not a very good good expression. Maybe expanding the topic sentence, right? Expanding the topic sentence into something else.
Well, for me, it's something like that. While it is obvious for to everyone that health issues are important, the United States or US has its own specifics. Studies of the scale, should I say scale of death or something like this. Because of the pandemic among the American population takes into account the racial origin of the citizens. And then the summary.
Exactly, exactly. So you are talking about this problem, you're writing your own paragraph. Your paragraphs are not just summaries, paraphrases, and quotes. Your paragraphs are your discussion. Good. Anything else? There is over study. Oh, so some more was shared in the chat. Thank you for that. There is, however, a need to study internal community health concerns and related measures as a factor impacting the health level of the community. Very good. Thank you for sharing that. Good. Anything else?
Should I, can I ask again? I'm sorry. Is it really an every paragraph structure or just the beginning of the article or something? Or well, beginning of the discussion?
Yeah, you would probably use something like that in the literature review. Literature review is expected to contain references to other people's articles. And of course, you will be making your own point. You will be just introducing information from other researchers to support your points. Does that help answer your question, or do you need something different?
Well, it's just for me, it's just look like a problem statement. Something like we should do in the beginning of the article, not in the literature review, you know?
Okay, all right. Well, sure. You can, depending on the field you're working you're working in, right? Depending on the field you're working in, the structure of the article may be slightly different. I have seen articles that start with something that they call generally introduction, where they possibly use the problem statement. Yeah. Some people start with something that looks really like literature review right away. And I think those differences are field specific. So if you believe that people in your field expect a certain structure of your article. That's how you do it. However, I believe that introducing things with your own text, with your own opinion, is necessary wherever it is, whether it's statement, problem statement, whether it's literature review. It is possible to quote sources even in the conclusion. For example, you're arguing against somebody else. Let's say there is an influential paper in your field that claims A, but your research shows B. You can say that our findings indicate something, 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 while the book by such and such author claims that something, something, something. We disagree with that because when we tried to replicate their study, our results were different. So you could cite an outside source even in discussion or conclusions sections of your article. So that's why I believe that incorporating sources into your own writing is necessary throughout the paper. Usually, most of it is done in the literature review. However, it can be in the introduction, it can be in the problem statement, it can sometimes, but rarely, be in discussion or conclusions. 1 second, yeah, I'll take 1 more second of your time if I can, because I would like to talk about one more thing that we will work on, and the next exercise is supposed to be, I can't see screen share. The next exercise is supposed to be on incorporating 3 different sources into 1 paragraph. So if you can see this Word document now, you can see that your task is going to be to read 3 articles or sections of the articles, of course, not the full articles, from 3 different sources. And then we will put them all together into 1 paragraph. This is it. Back to you, Natalia.
Will we talk about the secondary sources? I don't know how it's called. Like you cited somebody else's work by some other work. You see?
We can, if that is something that you'd like to talk about. I will talk about citing a citation, right?
Yeah, yes. Could be very useful.
As cited by such and such authors, and then you introduce information from another secondary source, like you said. Yeah, we can do that.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
So I would like to thank Natalia and all the participants, of course, and I would like to remind you that we are going to have another workshop in the series, and it will take place exactly in a week on December the 14th. And at this workshop, you will incorporate your sources. Yeah, am I right, Natalia?
Yes, that's the plan. After we work with 3 outside sources that are supplied by me, I would like everyone to bring 2, 3, 4 papers that you would like to introduce into 1 paragraph, and we will workshop it together, helping each other.
Yeah. So please remember to fill in the feedback form, and we'll look forward to seeing you all in a week.